Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa sallallahu wa sallam wa baraka ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Allahumma la ilma lana illa ma 'allamtana innaka antal alimul hakim. Allahumma 'allimna ma yanfa'una wanfa'na bima 'allamtana wa zidna ilman ya rabbal alamin. Allahumma arzuqna al-ikhlasa fil aqwali wal a'mal. Allahumma ij'al 'amalana fi ridaka amin ya rabbal alamin. Alhamdulillah. I think this is our 24th class. Yes, the 24th class in the explanation of Umdatul Ahkaam of Abdul Ghani ibn Abdul Wahid al-Maqdisi rahimahullah, and we are beginning into Kitaabul At'imah, Kitaabul At'imah, Hadith 378, Hadith 378, Kitaabul At'imah. عن النعمان بن بشير رضي الله عنه قال سمعت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول وأهوى النعمان بإصبعيه إلى أذنيه إن الحلال بين والحرام بين وبينهما مشتبهات لا يعلمهن كثير من الناس ومن اتقى الشبهات استبرأ لدينه وعرضه ومن وقع في الشبهات وقع في الحرام كالراعي يرى هول الهمى يوشك أن يرتع فيه ألا وإن لكل ملك همى ألا وإن هم الله محارمه ألا وإن في الجسد مضغة إذا أصلحت صلح الجسد كله وإذا فسدت فسد الجسد كله ألا وهي القلب. Musannif rahimahullah, he begin with Kitabul Atimah, the book pertaining the foods. This book, Kitabul Atimah, Musannif rahimahullah, he has brought in here in order to explain us everything related to food, uh, from amongst the masail which will come in the light of what Musannif rahimahullah has mentioned in terms of ahadith. The default foundational principle is that concerning the food, drink, clothing is that everything is permissible except for those things where the Sharia has come with explicit prohibition. This is the general rule. By default, everything is permissible. When it comes to areas other than the ibadat, when it comes to the areas other than the ibadat, the asl, the foundational principle is that everything is al-hil, permissibility of it, be it food, be it drink, be it clothing, everything is permissible except where the Sharia has come and given us explicit prohibition. Musannif rahimahullah has mentioned a number of hadiths in this chapter related to uh, eating, drinking, and clothing, beginning with the hadith of An-Nu'man ibn Bashir radiyallahu anhuma. And this hadith we already have covered in the explanation of the 40 hadiths which we are doing. So it would be a good revision. Sami'tu, he says that I heard Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam saying, while he said this, he lifted his fingers towards the ears as if he's further emphasizing that he heard it directly from the mouth of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Further emphasize, pointing to the ears to emphasize that he himself has heard directly without any intermediaries between him and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So he says, "Innal halala bayyin wal haram bayyin wa baynahuma mushtabihatun la ya'lamuhunna kathirun minan nas." This hadith is considered a very great qaida from amongst the foundations of the religion. In fact, it is a comprehensive qaida. In fact, this hadith is considered from those few ahadiths the whole religion revolves around. So this is a great hadith, as we said earlier in studied in our Al-Baun as well. Indeed, the halal is clear and the haram is clear. What is halal? Halal is what Allah has made halal, and haram is what Allah has made haram. So halal is clear, which means its permissibility is explicit and it is clear. And it is that which Allah has made halal for His slaves, from amongst the food, the drink, what one eats, uh, and things of similar nature, which are all permissible and known to the people. This is something which is, these are very explicit and clear. People, they are aware and they know that this is permissible. This food, this drink, this clothing, it is permissible. This is the reason most of the things people, they don't need to ask about them whether it is permissible or not, because they are absolutely clear, very apparent. Just like it, the opposite of it is those things which are impermissible and haram. They are also explicitly clear what Allah has made haram, like alcohol, like carrion, carcass, dead meat, uh, swine meat, impermissibility of zina, and impermissibility of theft, impermissibility of cheating. All of these things are something which are absolutely clear and known. A person need not to think twice. They are absolutely clear. So halal, absolutely clear. Halal is something which Allah has made halal, and haram is something which Allah has made haram. Between halal and haram, there are matters which are suspicious, the gray matters. And this suspicion and lack of clarity is not for everyone, not for all of the people in general. But yes, majority of the people are unaware about these matters because they don't have the deep understanding in the religion. As for the scholars, those who are firmly grounded in knowledge, then these matters are not ambiguous and suspicious to them. It is clear to them because of what Allah has granted them insight into the religion of Allah in the light of the religion of Allah in His Sharia and His in the Quran and the Sunnah. This is the reason He says, وَبَيْنَهُمَا مُشْتَبِهَاتٌ لَا يَعْلَمُهُنَّ كَثِيرٌ مِّنَ النَّاسِ. So He says, لَا يَعْلَمُهُنَّ كَثِيرٌ مِّنَ النَّاسِ. Majority of the people do not know it. Not all of them, but majority of them do not know. Those who do not have rusukh, those who do not have sound or firm grounding in the religion, they are the ones who these matters are suspicious and gray to them. So what they should do? They should go back to the scholars. So they are the ones who are unaware about these affairs, whether they are permissible or not. So they ask a scholar who will come and then bring clarity in these suspicious and ambiguous matter. Then he says, فَمَنِ اتَّقَى الشُّبُهَاتِ اسْتَبْرَعَ لِدِينِهِ وَعِرْضِهِ. The one who protects himself from falling into these grey matters, then this person has saved his religion as well as his honor. Thus, there are three kind of things. Number one, halal, which are absolutely permissible, and there is no harm if a person commits them and benefits from them. There is no harm in that. The second group, a second type of things are haram. It is impermissible for a person to indulge in them or take benefit from them because Allah has made them haram. And then the third kind of things are those which are in between the two things. A person, majority of the people aren't aware whether it is permissible or not. And these kind of things, Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam gave us a qaida concerning these kind of things which are grey, which are ambiguous, where there is some kind of suspicion, a person does not know whether they are halal or haram. Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam gave us the qaida, فَمَنِ اتَّقَى الشُّبُهَاتِ اسْتَبْرَعَ لِدِينِهِ وَعِرْضِهِ. Those things in which there is some suspicion, some ambiguity, where a person is not clear whether they are halal or haram, then it is obligatory upon a person to stay away from such kind of things, precautionarily for his religion and precautionarily to save his honor from being tainted. So he says, Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, فَمَنِ اتَّقَى الشُّبُهَاتِ اسْتَبْرَعَ لِدِينِهِ وَعِرْضِهِ. What benefit will come out of it if a person will not fall into these grey matters? He would save his religion and his honor. How he would save his religion? The religion is between him and between Allah, which means he would have saved his religion. And how he would be saving his ird, his honor? It is between him and his and other creation. Because those who fall into suspicion, those who fall into suspicious things, those who fall into gray matters, uh, this person is very prone to be criticized by others. Very prone to be criticized by others. So do not put yourself in situations where you allow people to raise fingers at you. This is how a person can save his ird and his honor. وَمَنْ وَقَعَ فِي الشُّبُهَاتِ وَقَعَ فِي الْحَرَامِ. Why? Because those who fall into doubtful matters, they know that they have fallen into haram. Because falling into doubtful matters will ultimately drag you into those things which are haram. It will lead you to haram. Then Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam gave an example in explaining that how falling into doubtful matters drags you into haram. And the example is the example of a shepherd who is uh, grazing his sheep around a place of grazing. Now these sheep are grazing very close to a sanctuary where it is prohibited for anyone to enter. This is a maybe personal, like grazing ground of someone, and these livestock and these cattle, they are grazing very close to the boundary of this sanctuary, sixth sanctuary, which is prohibited for others to cross into. Now If this shepherd will allow his cattle to graze near this hima, this preserved sanctuary, yushiku an yarta'a fihi, it is very likely that these cattle, because they don't have intellect, they may find grass greener on the other side, more greener, and then it is very likely that they will overcross and go into that area. So, ala wa inna likulli malikin hima. So beware, for every king there is a sanctuary. From amongst the worldly kings, they each one of them have a sanctuary, a preserved sanctuary where no one is allowed to cross and enter into. Likewise, wa inna himallahi maharimu. Likewise, the hima, the sanctuaries of Allah, are His prohibitions. Are His prohibitions. What Allah has made haram, what Allah has made His slaves prohibited to enter into. Then Prophet Muhammad ended this hadith, great hadith, by explaining the importance of rectification of the heart and preserving it, and that the rectification of heart is the foundation of rectification of a person. So he says, Allah, beware, indeed in the body there is a piece of flesh. Is asalahat salahal jasadu kulluhu. If this piece of flesh is sound, then the whole body is sound. And if this piece of flesh gets corrupted, then the whole body gets corrupted, and know that it is the heart, a small piece of flesh in the human body. However, its effect on the whole body is great. Its effect on the hearing, on the seeing, hands, foot, sensory perceptions, limbs, it has a great effect. Why? Because the limbs, these limbs, they follow the heart. If the heart is straight upon the straight path, if it is straight and it is on the straight path, everything, the body part, the limbs will follow it. And if there is crookedness in the heart, likewise you will find crookedness in the limbs. They will follow it. This is the reason it is very emphasized for a person to give great attention to the heart. And he must strive to keep the heart steadfast upon acts of obediences. If the heart is steadfast upon the act of obediences, the limbs will follow. And if the heart deviates and some crookedness enters into it, then the limbs will also deviate and they will become crooked in following the heart. هذا أيضا فيه تنبيه أن الخلل الذي يقع في كثير من الناس باستهانتهم بالمحرمات عائد إلى الشيء في القلب. And this also indicates that any kind of void, if it is found in majority of the people, for the reason of they belittling this or considering the affair of the prohibited things as very light and simple, it goes back to the heart because of the deficiency in the iman, because of the deficiency in the religion, because of the weakness in their connection with Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. This is the reason a person, he is in need of paying great attention to the heart, that it must remain upon the path of obedience, and that his heart remains absolutely clear, pious, righteous, upon the straight path, upon acts of obedience of Allah. Because the body parts, the limbs of a human body, they follow the heart in terms of righteousness and corruption. So the summary is that this is a great hadith. It is comprehensive in its chapter, and a Muslim must fear Allah, and he must make clear distinction between halal and haram in the light of evidences of the Sharia. Halal, it is absolutely no doubt that the person can commit it. Haram, it is obligatory that the person must be aware of them and he must not fall into them. And the matters which are gray, which are suspicious, the person does not know whether it is halal or haram, then it is obligatory upon the person to stay away from them in order to clear his religion and his honor. When Prophet Muhammad he says al halal bayyin, it means that the things which Allah has made halal, and when he says wal haram bayyin, it means what Allah has made haram. But the one whose heart is corrupted, may Allah preserve us from this, the one whose heart is corrupted, then the qaida, the rule with him in this chapter, it gets reversed. Halal for him is mahalla fil yad. Halal for him are those things which are within his reach, then they are halal. And haram are those things which this person is deprived from reaching them, then he considers them to be haram. which means that if it is easy for a person to commit crimes, and if it is easy for a person to drink alcohol, and if it is easy for a person to commit adultery, and if it is easy for a person to eat riba, then it is halal, because it is accessible. On the contrary, if something is not accessible, even if it is halal according to the sharia of Allah, he considers it to be haram. This is for who? The person whose heart has got corrupted. This is the reason the aqidah of a Muslim is that halal is what Allah has made halal, and haram is what Allah has made haram. And there is no one who can make something halal or haram, because these are from the necessities and requirement of rububiyah, to declare something halal or haram. Hadith 379 an Anas ibn Malik radhiyallahu anhu qala anfajna arnaban بمر الظهران فسعى القوم فلغبوا وأدركتها فأخذتها فأتيت بها أبا طلحة فذبحها وبعث إلى رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم بوركها وفخذيها وقبله لغبوا آيو. This is a hadith narrated by Anas ibn Malik radhiyallahu anhu, and this hadith is brought in here in order to indicate the permissibility of eating a rabbit. Rabbit meat is permissible to be consumed. So in the hadith, Anas ibn Malik radhiyallahu anhu says that we were chasing a rabbit at a place by the name of Mar al-Zahran, is a place which is near Makkah. To the north of it, towards Medina, there is a place, is a valley by the name of Valley Fatima, and at that place, which is known as Mar al-Zahran, the companions, they said that we found Arnab hiding from the eyes of the people, either behind the grasses or the trees or sand dunes. It was hiding, trying to hide from the eyes of the companions. So they said, we found this rabbit was trying to hide himself behind the bushes. So, but they sighted. So a group of companions, they chased in order to catch him. In chasing, as you know, rabbit is very quick. They got exhausted. Lagabu, al-lagab, it is tab. They got exhausted. Wama massana min lughub. Allah said that this tiredness does not touch us, and Allah does not get tired. But these companions, while chasing the rabbit, they could not catch him or catch the rabbit, but they got exhausted. They got exhausted and they could not catch. Then Anas ibn Malik radhiyallahu anhu said, I was able to catch the rabbit. So I got hold of it and I brought it to Abu Talha radhiyallahu anhu after catching the rabbit. So Abu Talha radhiyallahu anhu slaughtered it, and then he sent a piece of it, either the thighs of the rabbit or a portion of it, to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he accepted it. This indicates that rabbit meat is from those permissible things which Allah has made halal for his slaves to eat. There is a ijma of the scholars. There is no disagreement in this matter that rabbit is halal. Also in this hadith, is the guidance of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam concerning the gifts, that he would accept it. He would accept from the one who is gifting him, even if it is something which is very small. So they gifted Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Uh, they gifted Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam this, the fakhiz or the of rabbit, thigh of the rabbit, or a portion of the meat of rabbit. They gifted it, and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam accepted it. This also indicates the humbleness of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his good character. Salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi wa barakatuhu alayhi. Anyway, this hadith is talking about the permissibility of eating the rabbit meat. Hadith 380 an Asma bint Abi Bakr radhiyallahu anhu qalat naharna ala ahdi Rasulillah sallallahu alayhi wasallam farasan fa'akalnahu wa fi riwayatin wa nahnu bil madinati. This hadith is talking about permissibility of eating horse meat. Hadith is narrated by Asma bint Abi Bakr radhiyallahu anhuma. She says that we slaughtered a horse during the time of Rasulullah's last time and ate from it. And another narration, it says we were at Medina, wanahnu bil Madinati. So this indicates that horse meat is permissible. It is from amongst those things which Allah has made haram for his slaves to take benefit from and eat from. Uh, Majority of the scholars, in the light of explicit authentic ahadith, they rule that the horse meat is permissible to consume. From amongst the scholars, some of the scholars, they are of the opinion that it is haram, and there are those who say that it is disliked to eat the horse meat. However, those who say that it is disliked, or those who say it is haram to consume horse meat, they don't have any strong evidence with them. The strongest evidence which they have, from which they take evidence, is the ayah of the Quran in Surah An-Nahl, wal khayla wal bighala wal hamira la tarkabuha wa zinatan wa yakhluqu ma la ta'lamun. This is the ayah in Surah An-Nahl. Here, Allah has mentioned khayl, which are horses, along with the mules and the donkeys. And we know that mules and donkeys, they are, impermissible to eat their meat. So they say that mention of horses along with them in this surah, which is also known as Surah An-Ni'am, because Allah has mentioned so many blessings of His in this surah, in Surah An-Nahl, surah number 16. They take evidence that since it is mentioned along with the mention of mules and the donkeys, it indicates that it is impermissible. However, this surah was revealed in Makkah by the name of Surah An-Ni'am, or as we said, it is also known as Surah An-Nahl, and there is no explicit clear evidence. uh, there is no yani, the Sheikh is saying that had it not been for the explicit narration which we are reading from Asma bint Abi Bakr radhiyallahu anhuma, as well as the evidence which will come after this concerning the permissibility of eating the horse meat, then this ayah is a very strong ayah to take evidence that the horse meat is impermissible to eat. But had it not been for those authentic established sahih ahadith which we are reading and which we'll read after this, so this ayah, there is no explicit mention that it is impermissible to eat horse meat. There is no explicit mention. Okay, so to take evidence from this ayah that it is impermissible to eat horse meat is incorrect, especially in the light of ahadith, the authentic ahadith which we have at hand. Also, there is a hadith in Abu Dawood and other than Imam Abu Dawood, from which these few scholars who take evidence is the hadith anna Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam naha an luhumil khayl, that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam prohibited from the meat of horse. Some scholars, they take evidence from this hadith. However, the Ahlul Ilm, they say that with the consensus of them that this hadith is a weak hadith. It is ghair sahih. It is not authentically established from Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And even if it is, for the sake of argument, if we consider it to be an established authentic hadith, then it is mansukh, it is abrogated, because it has been authentically established in numerous ahadiths from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam regarding the permissibility of eating the horse meat. Also, there are asar, narrations from the companions radiyallahu anhum concerning this matter. This is the reason Imam Abu Dawud rahimahullah, after mentioning this hadith, he mentions that wahaza mansukh, this is abrogated. So even if we consider this hadith to be authentic, though it is not, the scholars, they are unanimously agreed that the hadith is weak, but for the sake of argument, if we consider the hadith to be sahih, Imam Abu Dawud rahimahullah, he mentions after this, he gives his remark after mentioning the hadith, considering the hadith to be sahih, that it is mansukh and abrogated. And then he says a great majority, a group of companions have eaten the meat of horse. And then he mentioned those companions who have eaten the meat of horse. So this hadith is an indication that the horse meat is permissible to be eaten. Hadith 381, an Jabir ibn Abdullah radiyallahu anhuma anna an-nabiy sallallahu alaihi wasallam naha an luhumil humuri al-ahliya wa azina fi luhumil khayl. ولمسلم وحده قال أكلنا زمن خيبر الخيل وهمر الوحشي ونهى النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم عن الحمار الأهلي. So this hadith of Jabir ibn Abdullah radiyallahu anhuma, uh, there is tahrim and prohibition of eating the meat of a domestic donkey. Domestic donkey. Humur is the plural for himar. And domestic donkey, which is known, those, they don't live in wild, rather they are the ones which roam around us in our societies. They are the domestic donkeys. And there is another hadith also will come, that akalna zamana khaybar al khayla wal humur al wash. This is exactly in this hadith that the companions, they said, we ate during the Khaybar, during the battle of Khaybar, we ate horse and the wild donkeys, which means zebra, and those which resemble zebra, and those animals which are found in the wild. So this humur al wahshi is zebra. Okay, so it is permissible to eat humur al wahshi, but not al ahli, domestic donkey. No, you cannot eat. It is haram. Then anna Nabiya sallallahu alaihi wasallam naha an luhumil humuri al ahliya. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam made it prohibited to eat from the meat of domesticated donkeys. Impermissible because it is rijs, it is najis. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave reasoning behind why you should not eat the meat of domestic donkey. He says, innaha rijisun. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because it is rijis, it is najasa. This is the illa, this is the reason of prohibiting it. It is najasa, it is khabith. It is not worthy of being eaten. Wa'azina fi luhumil khayl, and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam permitted the eating of horse meat. So this is another hadith which indicates upon the permissibility of eating the horse meat. The previous one was from Asma bint Abi Bakr radiyallahu anhuma. Then there is a narration in Sahih Muslim alone wherein Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, wherein the companions, they said, akalna zamana khaybara, yani during the ghazwa of Khaybar we ate the horse and the meat of wild donkeys, which means it is permissible to eat the meat of wild donkeys, and wild donkeys is zebra and everything which resembles it, those which are found in the wild. And then Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam prohibited from eating the domestic donkey, the meat of a domestic donkey. Hadith 382 and Abdullah ibn Abi Awfa radiyallahu anhu qala asabatna maja'atan layaliya khaybara falamma kana yawmu khaybara waqa'na fil humuril ahliyati fantaharnaha falamma ghalat biha al-quduru nada munadi Rasulillahi sallallahu alaihi wasallam an akfi'u al-qudura wala ta'kulu min luhumil humuri shay'a. This hadith is again talking about the prohibition of eating the meat of domestic donkeys. So the companion Abdullah ibn Abi Awfa radiyallahu anhu, he says that we felt hunger on the night of Khaybar. We felt hunger on the night of Khaybar. When it was the day of Khaybar, we got hold of a domestic donkey. So we slaughtered it. We slaughtered it. Then what we did, we started to prepare for cooking it, almost ready to cook it in the pots, qudur. Nada munadi Rasulillahi sallallahu alayhi wasallam an akfi'u al qudur. So they almost prepared the meat for cooking, ready in the pots, filled the pots with it to be cooked. Right at that time, a caller of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, somebody who Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam appointed to give this information, he came shouting and calling the people that overturn the qudur, yani throw away whatever is in the pots, meat as well as whatever is in the pots. Wala ta'kulu min luhumi humur shayan. Do not eat anything from the meat of domestic donkeys. They almost started preparing and cooking the meat because they considered, because the general qaida was what? As we studied the general qaida concerning things, an al asla fil ashiyai al ibaha, the default state and general rule and foundational principle concerning things other than ibadat is that they are permissible, which includes the meat also, which includes eating, drinking, clothing. So, based on that general qaida, they considered the meat of domestic donkey to be permissible. So, slaughtered it, almost put the meat in the pot, about to cook it. But then, all of a sudden, this information came from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that it is prohibited to eat the meat of domestic donkey. So, overturn the pots and do not eat anything from it. So, this hadith is an indication that eating the meat of domestic donkey is impermissible. Hadith 383 An Abi Thalaba radiyallahu anhu qala harrama Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam luhuma al-humur al-ahliya. Again, this hadith is further emphasizing the fact from the companion Abi Thalaba radiyallahu anhu that he says that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam prohibited the meat of domestic donkey. Why? The reason is فَإِنَّهَا رِجْسٌ, because it is najasa, it is najis, it is rijis. It is impure to eat and consume. Hadith 384 عن ابن عباس رضي الله عنهما قال دخلت أنا وخالد ابن الوليد مع رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم بيت الميمونة فأوتي بضب محنوذ فأهوى إليه رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم بيده فقال بعض النسوة اللاتي في بيت ميمونة أخبروا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم بما يريد أن يأكل فرفع رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يده فقلت أحرام هو يا رسول الله قال لا ولكنه لم يكن بأرض قومي فأجدوني أعافه قال خالد فاجتررته فأكلته والنبي صلى الله عليه وسلم ينظر. Hadith 384 narrated by Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhuma. He says that I entered myself as well as Khalid ibn al-Walid radiallahu anhuma. We entered along with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the house of Maimuna. She is from Ummahatul Mu'minin radiyallahu anha. Now, what is the relationship of Ibn Abbas as well as Khalid ibn al-Walid to Maimuna radiyallahu anha? She was the aunt, maternal aunt of both of them. She was the maternal aunt of Ibn Abbas radiyallahu anhuma as well as she is the maternal aunt of Khalid ibn al-Walid, which means Ibn Abbas and Khalid ibn al-Walid radiyallahu anhum, they were cousins, they were brothers. Yani one sister's this child was Abdullah ibn Abbas radiyallahu anhuma, and the other sister's child was Khalid ibn al-Walid, and the third sister was Maimuna. And they were three sisters. One of them is the mother of Abdullah ibn Abbas radiyallahu anhuma. Other sister is the mother of Khalid ibn al-Walid, and then the third one is Maimuna radiyallahu anha. So she was the aunt of both of them. Thus, it is permissible to that these boys, it was permissible for them to go into the house of Maimuna because they are maharim. They are mahram to Maimuna radiyallahu anha. The name of the mothers of both Abdullah ibn Abbas as well as Khalid ibn al-Walid, uh, the names of the mothers of both of these were same exactly. Lubaba Kubra and Lubaba Sughra. Lubaba Kubra, Ummul Fadl, she was the mother of Ibn Abbas, mother of Ibn Abbas. And Lubaba Sughra was the mother of Khalid ibn al-Walid, radiyallahu anhu. So anyway, they entered into the house of Maimuna, radiyallahu anhu, anha, along with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. At that time, fa'utiya bidabbin, a dab was brought. And this dab was what? It was mahnuz, which means it was roasted. It was roasted, mashwi. It was roasted. And dab is nothing but it is this desert lizard. It is permissible to eat. A desert lizard, which is found in the deserts, it is permissible to eat. A lizard which was roasted was brought in front of these people, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam as well as these two. So it was roasted. Then فَأُوتِيَ بِضَبٍّ مَحْنُوذٍ فَأَهْوَى إِلَيْهِ. So when it was brought, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he just stretched his hands to pick it up in order to eat. And just like one of you stretches his hand towards the food when it is kept in front of him, likewise Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he just advanced his hand towards this dab. Then some of the women who were there in the house of Maimuna radiyallahu anha, they said that inform Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam about what he is intending to eat. The moment Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam heard it, he lifted his hand, yani as if he is not eating. So he lifted his hand up. So Ibn Abbas radiyallahu anhuma, he asked, is it haram ya Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because we saw you, advancing towards it, and then all of a sudden you retracted your hand back. So this question was asked. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave the reasoning. He said, la, no, it is not haram. But obvious question is, if it is not haram, why is it that you are not consuming? So he also gave the reasoning. وَلَكِنَّهُ لَمْ يَكُنْ بِأَرْضِ قَوْمِي فَأَجِدُنِي أَعَافُهُ. So this is the way of showing the excuse. This is the gentle and the beautiful way of showing your excuse. Yani, you know, if you don't like something, don't feel others dislike the same thing, and don't make faces when you are seeing something which you personally don't like, though it is permissible to eat, but you personally, if you don't like to eat it, do not make faces so that others also try to develop a kind of dislike for that thing to eat looking to your face. So this is the guidance of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam when he disliked to eat from this dab. Why? Because it is not found in our land. We are not used to eating the meat of dab. So this is a general dislike. This is a personal dislike because we are not used to eating the meat of a desert lizard because it is not found in our land. This is the reason I am not eating from it. But that does not lead him to make others also dislike by making faces. And this teaches us a great adab and etiquette. If you do not dislike if you dislike something personally, don't make it, don't present your dislike in a way that others also create a kind of dislike in themselves for that particular thing. Why? Because it is not haram. So he gave the reasoning that this particular thing is not found in our land, so we have kind of a dislike, not because it is haram but because it is not found in our land. And this is something which is natural. The thing which we don't eat normally, if it is presented to us, we find we have a kind of a dislike which is personal, not a sharia based dislike. Then he says faj tarartuhu faqal. Then Khalid ibn al-Walid raziyallahu anhu says that I what I did, I ate from it. Despite hearing this, when it became clear that it is not haram to eat, he said, I consumed it, I ate it. And while Rasulullah ﷺ was looking at me, what benefit is derived out of it? The benefit is that Rasulullah ﷺ looking at others eating it, which implies that it is not haram. Otherwise, how is it possible that something which is haram is being consumed in front of Rasulullah ﷺ and he remains silent? So this is further benefit that it is not haram, though Rasulullah ﷺ very explicitly said earlier that la, it is not haram. Again, this is a tacit approval of Rasulullah ﷺ, wherein the companions are eating in front of him and he did not prohibit them from eating it. Indicates that it is permissible to eat adab, desert lizard. 385 عن عبد الله ibn Abi Awfa radiyallahu anhu قال غزونا مع رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم سبع غزوات نأكل الجراد. Permissibility of eating jarad, these are the grasshoppers. He says that we went in battle along with Rasulullah ﷺ 7 times, and we ate al jarad. We ate these grasshoppers, which again indicates that it is permissible to eat the grasshoppers, because there is a hadith which says that ohillat lana maitatan, two dead things are made permissible for us. Number one, fish. Number two, these jarad. Yani the jarad, whether you catch them alive or you catch them dead, just like fish, it is permissible for you to eat, as long as it has not started to become stale and giving bad smell. That's a different story. But in principle, it is permissible for you to eat fish as well as these jarad. And there is a consensus of scholars upon this, that it is permissible to eat jarad. Yes, you may not eat based on your personal likes and dislike, that's a different thing, but it is permissible. Hadith 386 and Zahdam ibn Mudarrib al-Jarmi radiyallahu anhu qala kunna inda Abi Musa or rahimahullah. He says that we were with Abu Musa radiyallahu anhu, Abu Musa al-Ashari radiyallahu anhu. So he called fada'a bima'idatin wa alayha lahmu dajaj, and he called for a table, and upon it was the meat of chicken meat, lahmu dajaj. فدخل رجل من بني تميم من بني تيم من بني تيم الله أحمر شبيه بالموالي فقال له هلم فتلكأ فقال هلم فإني رأيت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يأكل منه. So this hadith indicates upon the permissibility of eating chicken. So a table was spread, and upon it was chicken meat. A man from Bani Taymillah also came, and this man was like he was showing, uh, you know, kind of a resistance to eating this meat, as if he is like he is in doubt, or he rejected eating the meat of this chicken meat. So Abu Musa al-Ashari radiyallahu anhu said, come forward. Why are you not eating? Halumma. Why? Because I saw Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam eating from the chicken meat. So this indicates the permissibility of eating the chicken meat, and it is from amongst those things that Allah has made haram for his slaves to eat from. So in the light of these ahadith which we just saw, which Musannif Rahimahullah brought in here in order to explain us the things which are haram as well as the things which are halal from amongst the meat. And the scholars the scholars rahimahumullah, in the light of the ahadith which are mentioned in this area, in this chapter concerning uh, meat, as well as in the light of Book of Allah and the Sunnah of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, the scholars, they have given us some six pointers or six types of meat based on the all of the ahadiths which are narrated in this area of meat. So they combined it into six types of meat. The first type of meat is the one wherein there is explicit prohibition concerning it by its name, just as we saw al-humur al-ahliya, the domestic donkeys. It is explicit. There are so many narrations. Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah, he says that uh, you know he narrates these ahadiths concerning the prohibition of eating the meat of domestic donkey from 20 companions, or even more than the 20 companions, that they have indicated prohibition of eating the meat of domestic donkey. So this is something which there are explicit text prohibiting a particular kind of meat. Second type of meat is the one wherein some kind of uh, a clear criterion or defining limit has been set. A type of meat from wild animals is the one where a defining limit and a criterion has been set. A limit and a criterion have been established for it, such as those with fangs among the predatory animals, or those with talons among the birds. What are talons? Talons are these curved claws, curved claws. If you may have seen crows or vultures, they have like this kind of claws. If you see these curved, they're nails. They are basically, these are nails, but they are known as talons and claws, very sharp and like this. Okay, and this is their feet is here. This is their foot, but at the end of the foot, these kind of claws are there. These are the talons. So the second category of meat is the meat of those predators from amongst the animals or birds, animals which have got fangs, and the birds which have got talons. It is prohibited, and this is based on a hadith. Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah, he said that the reports from the Prophet ﷺ prohibited every animal with fangs among predators and every bird with talons, and the ahadith in this category are mutawatir. So anything that falls under this category, wherein every animal which has got fangs among predatory beasts and every bird with talons, is prohibited according to this guideline that has been authentically established from the noble Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. So this is the second one. Then you have the third type, ma ya'kulu al-jayfa. Now, the third type of meat are those meat of those birds or those animals that eat carrion, maita, dead animals. Those survive on dead animals, such as crows, vultures, and similar birds. These are forbidden due to the filthiness of what they feed on. The fourth type, the fourth type are fourth type of meat is that which people find repulsive, disgusting to eat, like mice, rats, insects, and similar creatures. Mustaqbasa. These are also forbidden due to their repulsive nature. The fifth type, what the Sharia has commanded to be killed or forbidden from being killed. Now, the Sharia has come wherein it has commanded that these, for example, five or six animals should be killed wherever you find them. Wherever you find them, because of the harmful nature of these creatures, which are known as al fawasiq, they are to be killed whether they are in the sacred places or non-sacred places. Even if they are found in the haram, they should be killed. There are five, snake and scorpion and all of those, crow, these ones. So what Sharia has commanded us to kill, then it is prohibited to eat from. Likewise, there are certain animals which are forbidden from being killed. Rasulullah ﷺ forbade such animals from being killed, such as the hoopoe bird, hudhud, and the surad, shrike. So eating them is prohibited. So whatever the Prophet ﷺ commanded to be killed or forbid from being killed, these are forbidden to eat. Finally, you have the sixth type. Finally, you have the sixth type. Animals born from a mix of lawful and unlawful animals, or permissible and impermissible animals by crossbreeding. Like, for example, the mule. Mule is born from a horse, which is halal, and a domestic donkey, which is haram. So it is a crossbreed, a mule. So its prohibition is due to giving precedence to the side of prohibition. Because, for example, the mother, or maybe the father, it depends whether domestic donkey is the male or the female. In any case, it is a crossbreed. So giving the precedence to the side of prohibition, what is born out of this union is considered to be prohibited for eating, like the mule, because it is born from both a halal and a haram animal. Despite its origin from one permissible and one impermissible animal, the ruling is to forbid eating it, favoring the side of prohibition. Also included in this category is an animal that is forbidden to eat due to a temporary reason, such as the jallala. And jallala could be, for example, this chicken. Those who feed on filth and impurities, jallala. So their nature changes. When they feed on filth and impurities, their nature changes, and such kind of animal is prohibited to eat while it continues to eat filth. But if it is restrained from eating impurities and fed clean food for a sufficient period, such that its flesh becomes clean and wholesome, then in its meat it becomes permissible at that point. So these are the six, the broad categories of meat in the light of the numerous ahadiths which we have. Then Musannif Rahimahullah finished this chapter with the hadith of Ibn Abbas radiyallahu anhuma, hadith 387. أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال إذا أكل أحدكم طعاما فلا يمسح يده حتى يلعقها أو يلعقها. Abdullah ibn Abbas radiyallahu anhuma, he narrates that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said that when one of you eats food, he should not wipe his hands or wash his hands until he licks it or asks someone else to lick it. Whatever is, like those foods especially which stick to your hand, not like the chapatis, the bread, it does not stick to your hand. But if you are eating food like rice, if you are eating food like uh, meat, is there some kind of meat which sticks to your hand, in that case it is impermissible for you to wash your hands before licking that food, or asking somebody else to lick, your son or your wife maybe, to lick it if you are not feeling. And if they are willing to do that and they don't find it repulsive, then there is no harm if they lick it, the food which is stick to your hands. So it is sunnah to not wipe the hands and wash them until you have licked the food which is on it. This is what Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is teaching us, hatta yal'aqaha aw yul'iqaha. Okay, so why is it so? Why is it so? What is the reason behind it? This, as the scholars rahimahumullah have mentioned, includes attaining the blessings in food. There is barakah in food, and you do not know in which part of your food the blessing lies. It could be in that very piece in your hand. So this emphasizes seeking the blessing in food. It also includes preserving the blessing, showing respect to it, and keeping away from the arrogance and pride. It reflects veneration and appreciation of the blessing. This is also one of the reasons for the preservation of blessings, that a person respects the blessing, the blessing, the ni'mah, and does not act negligently and or wastefully. Nowadays, some people, especially when eating rice, eat with their hands carelessly, not bothering about what falls off. They take a handful, and the leftover on their hand, often a lot, it is just dropped on the floor before taking another handful and morsel. By the time they finish eating, there is a large amount of food left on the sufra, the mat on which they are eating. This is against the etiquette of dealing with food. It contradicts the good manners with food. Truly, there should be nothing left on the sufra, the dining mat. Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said that if a morsel of food, if a morsel of food uh, falls from one of you, let him pick it up, remove any dirt on it, and eat it, and not leave it for shaitan. This is the guidance. إذا سقطت اللقمة من يد أحدكم فليمت ما كان عليها من الأذى ولا يدعها للشيطان. And clean it if it is possible to clean it. Clean it, whatever has stick to it, harmful things, and then eat it. And do not leave it for shaitan. Do not leave it for shaitan. And so if it falls on the ground, one is supposed to clean it and eat it. Then how about if it falls on a clean dining mat and a sofa where it doesn't even need to be cleaned? Yet you still find many people leaving behind large amounts of food on the mat, and this is not in accordance with the proper adab and the etiquettes, and is a neglect of the respect and care due to the blessings of Allah Ta'ala, which He has bestowed upon us. Hadith 388, Kitabul Atima Babu Said, the chapter concerning game, hunting. عن أبي ثعلبة الخشني رضي الله عنه قال أتيت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم فقلت يا رسول الله إن بأرض قوم أهل كتاب أفنأكل في آنيتهم وفي أرض سيد أصيد بقوسي وبكلب الذي ليس بمعلم وبكلب المعلم فما يصله لي قال أما ما ذكرت يعني من آنية أهل الكتاب فإن وجدتم غيرها فلا تأكلوا فيها وإن لم تجدوا فاغسلوها وكلوا فيها وما ست بقوسك فذكرت اسم الله عليه فكل وما ست بكلبك المعلم فذكرت اسم الله عليه فكل وما ست بكلبك غير المعلم فأدركت زكاته فكل. So this chapter is concerning Said, hunting, and Ahkaam related to hunting. Hunting is again from the blessings of Allah. It is upon the blessings of Allah which He has bestowed upon His slaves, wherein Allah has made it permissible for them to eat the meat of animals which they hunt, whether it is bird or the cattle or the animals which are permissible to eat. And it is a mercy and is a favor from Allah upon the slaves. However, this meat is permissible with some criterion and conditions. And the explanation of it has come in the guidance of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, as we'll see. Okay, and this is known as Said, a hunting game. Why it is known as Said? Because you only hunt wild animals, those animals which are not domesticated. They don't live among the people. In fact, they run away when they see you because they are wild by nature. They are not exposed to the the human beings. They are not used to live among the society. They try to hide themselves from the sight of the people. They run away. They keep themselves hidden from the eyes of the human beings. Okay, so فَمِنْهَا مَا جَعَلَ اللَّهُ صَلَاحُهَا الْأَخَ, and these animals, Allah has given them some tools by means of which they protect themselves from being hunted. So on one side, Allah has made it permissible to hunt. Likewise, on the other side, Allah has given these very animals some tools by means of which they protect themselves from being hunted. Some of them, Allah gave them the tool such that they hide themselves inside the burrows in the earth. Some of them are those which run away to the mountain tops, like the wu'ul. These are the mountain goats, and it becomes difficult for you to catch them or hunt them because they have the abilities to climb even the straight mountains with steep this gradient they can climb up. So this is also a kind of a tool which Allah has given them to prevent themselves from being hunted. Likewise, among them are those who, because of their wings, they fly away from you, and it becomes difficult for you to hunt. Amongst them are those who Allah has given them speed, such that they run away, and it is not easy for you to catch them. So Allah has made it permissible for His slaves to hunt these animals and take benefit from their meat and enjoy them. Ma anna nas indahum luhumul bahimatul alam lakin as-sayd lahu lazza, and despite you having those animals which live amongst you, like uh, cows, buffaloes, camels, sheep, goats, chicken. You have these animals which are very easily accessible to you. Despite this, people, in order to get that thrill of hunting as well, they go and hunt the animal, catch it, and there is extra pleasure in it. The meat, after like hunting the animal and catching that animal and then hunting it and then slaughtering it and eating from that meat, it has its own pleasure. And this is the reason Allah made it permissible to eat from the meat of hunted animals, and it is from the fadl and the mercy and the virtue and the favors of Allah upon the creation. Musannif rahimahullah began with the hadith of Abu Salaba al-Khushani raziyallahu anhu. He said that I came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and I said, Ya Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we are in a place which is habituated by or habitated by Ahlul Kitab, people of the book. Shall we eat from their vessels? Shall we eat from the vessels? This question was presented to Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam concerning the vessels of the people of the book. And it is known that people of the book, they cook and eat things. Some of them are permissible and some of them are impermissible, like dead meat, swine meat, alcohol. They may use these vessels for storing and eating these things which are impermissible. This is the reason the question, it does make sense. So Rasulullah Sallallahu answered, as for what you have mentioned concerning the vessels of the people of the book, Rasulullah Sallallahu, if you said, if you find other than them, then don't use them, because definitely uh, preservation is better than cure, and if prevent and protect yourself from falling into haram, this is aula and this is preferable and better. But if you do not find any other vessel other than them, then wash them and use it, then you can eat in it. Then he says, فَإِنْ وَجَدْتُمْ غَيْرَهَا فَلَا تَأْكُلُوا فِيهَا. If you have other vessels, do not eat in them. If you do not find other vessels and you are in need of using their vessels, then wash them and eat. For the obvious reason, because you do not know, they may have eaten najasa and haram things in those vessels. Then he asked second question. وَفِي أَرْضٍ أَسِيدُ بِقَوْسِي. Yani, this is question is concerning hunting with the arrow, with the arrow and the bow. So Rasulullah SAW said, Wama sitta bi qawsika, what you hunt with your arrow and with a bow, then before shooting it towards the animal, mention the name of Allah. And if you have shooted the arrow after mentioning the name of Allah, and if it hits the animal, if it dies because of it, then you can eat from it. You can eat from it. So it is known. فَعُلِمَ مِنْ ذَلِكَ أَنَّ الصَّيْدَ إِنَّمَا يَحِلُّ بِهَذَا الْقَيْدِ. So the animal, hunted animal, is only permissible with this condition, that the name of Allah be mentioned upon it. Bismillah. While throwing, Bismillahi Allahu Akbar, throwing the arrow, or even if it is a gunshot, it should be done after taking the name of Allah. This is the condition. فَذَكَرْتَ اسْمَ اللَّهِ عَلَيْهِ فَقُلْ. If you have mentioned the name of Allah before throwing the arrow or shooting the gunshot, then it is permissible for you to eat from that animal. Now, there are scholars, some of them they say, like the Hanabila rahimahumullah, that it is obligatory. The tasmiyah, saying Bismillah, is obligatory. And if you do not mention it even forgetfully, you cannot eat from that hunt or that hunted animal, according to Hanabila. However, according to the correct opinion, as the Shaykh is also mentioning, that if you forgetfully, if you do not mention the name of Allah forgetfully, then it is permissible to eat. Why? Because Allah says, Rabbana la tu'akhizna in nasina waqtana. Oh Allah, do not take us to account if we forget or if we commit mistake. So in the light of this ayah, if somebody forgets to say Bismillah while hunting the animal or shooting the arrow or gunshot, and if he forgets to say Bismillah, and in that case it is permissible in the light of this ayah, and it is according to the correct opinion. Then he says, Wama sitta bika. The third way or the second way of hunting animal is by means of trained dogs. Bikal muallam. So if you have a trained dog, and this trained dog, if you send him behind the game or the animal, and this is a trained dog, but after saying Bismillah. So here also, if you are releasing your dog, this trained dog, after saying Bismillah, then this dog, whatever it catches, and the condition is that it must catch it for you, not for himself. Then in that case, if you have taken the name of Allah before sending the dog to the game, then you can eat from it. You can eat from it. So this dog has to be trained. This is the condition. Trained dog. He says, La hiz al an Sayyid al Kalb. Kalb, this dog, they are of two types. The dog which is trained and the dog which is not trained. So if you send the dog which is trained, or even if it is not trained, okay, so we have two kinds of dog, trained dogs and untrained dogs. Whether the condition is that you must say Bismillah, whether the dog is trained or dog is not trained. You said Bismillah. Now this dog, it sets forth, it runs behind the game. It catches the game. If you find the game to be alive, when you reach near the game, if you find it to be alive and if you slaughter it Islamically, then it is permissible for you to eat. Whether the dog is trained or untrained, it doesn't matter in that case, provided you have taken the name of Allah before sending the dog. So this is the first situation. The dog, whether it is trained or untrained, the hunt or the animal, if you find it alive, then you can slaughter it Islamically and you can eat from the meat of that dog or that animal, whether it is whether the dog was trained or untrained, doesn't matter. But what if you find the animal to be dead? If the what if the animal is found to be dead? You send the dog, whether trained or untrained. So the condition is that if the dog was trained and you sent the dog behind the game, the dog, it got hold of the game, and because of this dog jumping on the animal died. If the dog was trained, it is permissible for you to eat from the meat of that animal. But if the dog was untrained, it is not permissible for you to eat if the animal has already died. I hope it is clear now. Okay, this is the reason Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, wama sitta bi kalbika ghairil muallam. See, the first one is over, the dog which is trained. So if you sent a dog which is trained and it caught hold of the hunt of the animal, it was trained. Now whether the animal died or it is still alive, you can eat from the meat of that animal. If it is alive, slaughter it Islamically and eat from the meat. Trained dog. If the dog is trained and the animal, the hunt, died even before you reach the animal, it died before because of the dog jumping on him or this animal, it is again permissible for you to eat because the dog is trained and Allah has made it permissible. What if the dog is not trained? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is answering that. Wama sitta bi kalbika ghair al muallam. Untrained dog. Then you can only eat if the animal is still alive. Then slaughter it Islamically, and then you can eat from it. Which means that if the animal has died before you reaching there and the dog is untrained, you cannot eat. It is haram. Okay. So this hadith as well as other ahadith which will come in this chapter concerning hunting the animal, then there are some conditions. In order for that meat of the hunted animal to be permissible, there are some conditions. Number one, you are the one who is sending the dog, this trained dog, behind that hunting animal to be hunted. Yani it should not go on its own. If it runs and chases the animal on its own without you sending him, it is impermissible for you to eat. Okay, this is the condition. You should have sent that dog, trained dog, behind this game. If it goes and chases the animal on its own, which means he is not hunting it for you, this dog is hunting this game for himself or for itself. Okay, so the first condition, you should have sent the animal, the trained dog. Second thing, you should mention the name of Allah. You should have Bismillah at the time of sending. At the time of sending, you should say Bismillah. Wa in yakuna amsakahu. And number two, this dog should have, this dog is hunting the animal for you, not for itself. And these conditions will come in the other hadith. So hadith 389, an Hammam ibn al-Haris, an Adi ibn Hatim, radiyallahu anhu. Qala qultu ya Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, inni ursilul kilab al-muallama fayumsikna alayya wazkur ismallah. فقال إذا أرسلت كلبك المعلم وذكرت اسم الله فكل ما أمسك عليك. فقلت وإن قتلنا قال وإن قتلنا ما لم يشركها كلب ليس منها. Okay, so this hadith is actually talking about the conditions of the meat of the hunted animal when it becomes permissible. It's a long hadith. We'll directly read the sharh. So the hadith is narrated by Adi ibn Hatim, and he was the son of the famous Hatim at-Tai, who was known and famous for his generosity. And the proverbs are still being used amongst the Arab. They still use the proverbs, the words of wisdom, and the proverbs which include the generosity of Hatim at-Tai because of he being very generous. Adi ibn Hatim Raziyallahu anhu once asked Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam about the generosity of his father, that will he be benefited because of this generosity? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, La zaka rajul arada shay'an fanalahu. Yani that man, he intended shuhra, intended publicity, which he got, because he did not do this act of generosity for the sake of Allah, for pleasing Allah. He did it in order to be known and be famous amongst the people, and he achieved that. Allah made him famous among the people. His mathal, The proverbs are still being said when it comes to the generosity. The Arabs, they still use his name. So he got what he wanted, but he has no share in the hereafter, because his actions, his deeds were not for the sake of Allah. So sincerity is a condition for the deeds to be accepted. Adi Raziyallahu anhu, he mentions that, Ya Rasulullah Islam, inni ursilu. He's asking about sending a trained dog behind a game. So he says that, what is the rule if I send a trained dog behind a game after mentioning the name of Allah? So Rasulullah Islam, he says, if you have sent the trained dog and if you have mentioned the name of Allah, then eat from what this animal has caught for you. This is the condition. Amsak alayka. Condition. Which means, number one, arsalta kalbaka. You are the one who have sent this dog. Which means he did not go and he's not chasing. The dog is not chasing for his own sake. Rather, you are the one who sent the dog behind the game. Number one. Okay. Number two, name of Allah must be mentioned while sending the dog. Number three, this animal has got hold of this animal. Yani your dog has got hold of this animal for you, not for itself. So Rasulullah said, وَذَكَرْتَ اسْمَ اللَّهِ فَكُلْ مَا أَمْسَكَ عَلَيْكَ. So eat for whatever it has caught for you. Then the question comes, وَإِنْ قَتَلْنَا. Yani even if this animal dies before you reaching it, because the dog, it jumps and pounds on this animal, and because of it maybe the animal dies. So what if the animal dies? So answer is, no problem. As long as the dog is trained, as long as you have said Bismillah, as long as this dog has caught this animal for you, even if it dies before you reaching there and you are not able to slaughter it Islamically, Sharia has made it permissible for you to eat from the meat of this animal which has died because of this dog jumping and pouncing on this animal. Permissible for you to eat. Even if no blood has come and flown out of the body of this animal, according to the Sahih correct opinion, even if, we say that the blood must come out from the animal, but even if the blood does not come out of the animal, because there are some scholars, they say it is impermissible. If you find the animal dead, if you find the animal dead because of some injury which it has got, the dog jumping on this animal and it died, maybe because of shock or something it died, then some scholars, they say it is impermissible. Why? They say because it comes in the category of al mawquza. Mawquza is the animal which dies because of a shock or because of something hitting on it, on the head, or because of some injury and it dies. So since Allah said al mawquzatu is haram to be eaten, and they say this animal which dies because of a dog pouncing and jumping on it, it also falls under the category of mawquza. However, the correct opinion is that as long as you have sent the animal, you have sent your trained dog, as long as you have mentioned the name of Allah, even if this animal dies and no blood flows out of this animal, still it is permissible for you to eat from it, according to the correct opinion. وَإِنْ قَتَلْنَا قَالَ وَإِنْ قَتَلْنَا. Even if these dogs, the trained dogs, they kill that animal. But the condition is that مَا لَمْ يَشْرَكْهَا كَلْبٌ لَيْسَ مِنْهَا. The condition is that no other dogs should have participated in this hunting along with this dog, which is your trained dog. The other dogs should not have participated in this hunting. Other dogs should not have participated in this hunting with this condition. Because the dog which you have sent it after saying Bismillah. The other dogs, you don't know. You did not say Bismillah when they chased this animal. قلت إني أرمي بالمعراض الصيد فأصيب. So what is this mi'rad? Arrow. Second question. First question was sending a trained dog. Second question is, what if I throw an arrow to the game and if it hits it? So this is an arrow which is known to us, the arrow which has got a sharp edge at the other end. So he asked that, what if I hit an arrow towards the animal, if it hits it? So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam answered, Iza ramaita bil marad fa khazaka faqulhu. Yani this arrow that you are hitting to the this game, there are two ways in which it can hit the animal. The one way it can hit the animal is from the sharp side, the end which is sharp, or the second is the side which is not sharp, which is blunt, but it is heavy. It can also kill because it is going with pressure. It's going with pressure and force. It can still kill. If it is hitting the animal from the sharp side, then it is permissible for you to eat. But if it is hitting the animal from the blunt side and it dies because of a blow, then it is impermissible, because it will fall under the category of mawquda, which is haram, as Allah says in the Quran. حرمت عليكم الميتة والدم ولحم الخنزير وما أهل لغير الله به والمنخنقة, the animal which is strangulated, والموقوذة, the animal which falls down or dies because of a blow or an injury, والمتردية, falling down, والنتيهة, another animal poking with his horns into the stomach of the other animal, and the other animal dies because of it. So all of these animals are haram to be eaten. So this animal which dies because of the blunt side of the arrow hitting the animal, it falls under the category of mawquza, and it is haram. Then he says, wa hadithu shabi, and adi. Likewise, another hadith comes from the root of shabi through Adi ibn Abi Hatim radiyallahu anhu. In it, it says, illa an ya'kul al kalbu. فَإِنْ أَكَلَ فَلَا تَأْكُلْ فَإِنِّي أَخَافُ أَنْ يَكُونَ إِنَّمَا أَمْسَكَ عَلَى نَفْسِهِ. This is another condition. Another condition. We said earlier. Number one, you should send the dog. Number two, this dog is not catching the animal for its own sake. Rather, it is catching for you. Then only you can eat. Yani, if you see the dog eating from the hunted animal, then do not eat from it. Why? Because perhaps he may have caught the animal for its own sake. For its own sake. So it is impermissible for you to eat from that animal in that case, because this dog has not caught it for you. It has caught it for itself. وَإِنْ خَالَ, likewise, second situation, وَإِنْ خَالَتَهَا كِلَابٌ مِنْ غَيْرِهَا فَلَا تَأْكُلْ. Likewise, if you see your dog is also there, plus there are other dogs as well, they are not your dogs, other dogs, in that case also you should not eat from, because you don't know whether it is your dog who killed this animal, or it is the other dogs, those who killed that animal. You don't know. In that case, because there is an ambiguity, don't eat from that meat. فَإِنَّمَا سَمَّيْتَ عَلَى كَلْبِكَ وَلَمْ تُسَمِّ عَلَى غَيْرِهِ. See, because you have said Bismillah upon your dog when you sent and released it. You did not say Bismillah when the other dogs they ran chased the game. So this is the reasoning behind not eating if you find your dog along with other dogs as well behind the same game. Then he says, وَإِذَا أَرْسَلْتَ كَلْبَكَ الْمُكَلَّبِ. Mukallab means mu'allam, as Allah said in the Quran, وَمَا عَلَّمْتُم مِّنَ الْجَوَارِهِ مُكَلِّبِينَ أي مُعَلِّمِينَ, or mu'allam. Mukallibina yani mu'allam, trained dogs. When you send your trained dog, mention the name of Allah. فَإِنْ أَمْسَكَ عَلَيْكَ, and if it gets hold of that animal behind which, or the one which it is chasing, فَأَدْرَكْتَهُ حَيًّا فَأَصْبَحُ, and if you find the animal to be alive, when you reach there, then slaughter it Islamically and eat from it. وَإِنْ أَدْرَكْتَهُ, and if you find it وَقَدْ قَتَلَ, and it has already died, and your dog has not eaten from that meat of this hunted animal anything, فَإِنَّ أَغْزَى الْكَلْبِ زَكَاتَهُ. So in this case, the your dog catching the animal is just like you have slaughtered it. You need not to worry about slaughtering the animal, because Allah has made it permissible for you to make use of the trained dogs. And even if it dies before you arriving near that hunted animal, if you find him to be dead, this is equivalent of Islamic slaughtering, zakat. It is equivalent of that, and you can eat from that animal without even being Islamically slaughtered it, because this replaces that. Then he says, second, likewise, when you throw the arrow, bisahamika, before throwing the arrow or shooting the arrow, mention the name of Allah. Likewise, gunshot. Then he says, wa in ghaba anka. Now, sometimes what happens? The arrow, it hits the animal, or this gunshot, it hits the animal. But this animal, it runs away from your eyes, and you do not find it for a day or 2 or 3 days, maybe. You do not find that animal. But later on, falam tajid fihi illa asara sahamika. But later on, after 2 3 days, you find the same animal which you had shooted arrow to or gunshot to. You find the same animal dead. You found that animal to be dead, and you see the signs of your arrow or your gunshot, and there are no other signs, only this sign. In that case, Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is saying, "Fakul in sheath." Then you can eat from it if you like. Why if you like? Because after a period of 2 3 days, it may happen that This animal died, maybe 2 days back, so it has started to become stale and giving bad smell. In that case, don't eat from it. So the choice is open to you. After vetting the situation, take a call. If you do not find any other signs on this animal that it may have died with some other thing as well, if there are no other signs of that nature, and there is only the sign of the arrow or the gunshot, and if the meat is still, if you find it to be not giving bad smell, in that case, if you wish, you can eat, and if you wish, you can leave it. فَإِنْ وَجَدْتَهُ غَرِيقًا فِي الْمَاءِ فَلَا تَأْكُلْ. Likewise, you found this animal, you shot an arrow at the animal, and it hit the animal. When you reached near the animal, you found the animal to be dead, but it is inside the water. Now, don't eat from it. Why? Because of the possibility that maybe it died because of drowning and not because of your shot. So as long as there is possibility, leave it. You do not leave yourself to doubts. The moment doubt comes in, leave that thing altogether. Why? Because this falls under the category of mushtabihat. And we learned the qaida at the beginning of the chapter itself, that the one وَمَنِ اتَّقَى الشُّبُهَاتِ اسْتَبْرَأَ دِينَهُ وَعِرْضَهُ, this person has saved his deen as well as his honor. So do not eat, because there are chances that this animal died because of drowning into water and not because of your arrow. Hadith 390 an Salim an Abdullah ibn Umar radiyallahu anhuma qala samitu Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam yaqul man iqtana kalban illa kalba saydin aw mashiyatin fa innahu yanqusu min ajrihi kulla yawmin qiratan qala Salimun wa kana Abu Hurairah radiyallahu anhu yaqul aw kalba harsin wa kana sahiba hars. Then Musannif rahimahullah brought in this hadith from Abdullah ibn Umar radiyallahu anhuma, who says that I heard Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam saying that whoever keeps a dog, except for the dog for hunting or the dog which takes care of the livestock, then for each day a reward equal to one qirat will be reduced from this person's rewards. Okay, this indicates that it is permissible to keep dogs which are trained dogs for hunting. It is permissible to keep trained dogs for hunting. Wama allamtum min al jawarihi mukallibina, as Allah says in Suratul Ma'idah. Likewise, it is permissible to use the dogs to take care of the livestock, like you have sheep, you have goats. So there is a dog which keeps an eye so that the wolf does not come and picks up some one or two from among the sheep or goat. So it is permissible. Likewise, Salim, he says that Abu Hurairah radhiyallahu anhu used to say, yani add one more kind of dog which is permissible to be kept is the kalba harsin, the dog which used to keep a watch on the farms or the agriculture, and he was the one who had agriculture, which means this kind of dog is also permissible to be kept, the one which will keep an eye on these standing crops so that animals don't come and cause harm to the standing crop. So these are the only three kinds of dog which are permissible to be kept in case of necessity: the dog for hunting, the dog for keeping or watching these standing crops, as well as for the livestock. Other than that, it is impermissible. Now, what if somebody keeps them? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, for each day, from each day, yani because a person gets reward every day for the deeds which he does, praying, fasting, umrah, hajj, whatever deeds he is doing, he is going to get rewards upon it. But the person who keeps dogs, other than for these three purposes, from his rewards, a size equal to the size of a qirat will be reduced from his reward. Now, what this qirat is, only Allah knows best. There is other narration which is concerning the funeral prayer as well as the tadfeen, the burial. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, the one who prays upon a janaza and a funeral prayer, then he will have a qirat, the reward of a qirat. And the one who follows it until the dead is buried, he will have two qirat. It was asked, what is qirat? And he said, it is it is like the size of Uhud mountain. So in that hadith, it mentions the size of qirat. This one, it doesn't mention the size. So Allah knows best how one qirat is, but in any case, it is like the size of a big mountain. So walhasil, أن الذي يقتني القلب لغيره لهذه الرمول الثلاثة كل يوم. So what does this indicate? A person who has a dog for other than these three purposes, each day from his ajr, a size equal to the size of a qirat will be reduced. This hadith, the scholars they use it to indicate, they use it as an evidence to show that iman, it increases and it weakens. It increases and it weakens. This hadith they use it as an evidence. Why? Because presence of a dog, it reduces the ajr, the reward. And this reward, this reduction in the reward is actually a reduction in the religion of a person, a reduction in his iman. Reduction in the reward of his deeds is like equivalent to reduction in the reward of his prayer, reward of his fasting, reward of his sadaqah, reward of all of his deeds are getting reduced, which indicates a reduction in his iman. This is the reason scholars they take evidence from this hadith to show that iman reduces and weakens. Hadith 391 an Rafi ibn Khadij radiyallahu anhu qala kunna ma'an Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam bizi al-Hulayfa bin Tihama فأصاب الناس جوع فأصابوا إبلا وغنما وكان النبي عليه الصلاة والسلام في أخريات القوم. Okay, this hadith is narrated by Rafi ibn Khadij radiyallahu anhu. He says that we were with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam at Zil Hulayfa. So فأصاب الناس جوع فأصابوا إبلا وغنما. Yani they had captured a great amount of war booty, including camels and sheep and goats. A great amount of ghanima. And it is known that the ghanima, the war booty, should not be used before it is distributed by the leader. You cannot use it. It is known. So what happened? And Prophet Muhammad normally he would come in the end. He's a leader. So he would come towards the end of the army. Because the trail of the army is actually the place which is most likely to be raided by the enemy once again. Still he would remain at the end of the army to keep an eye. He was brave. Rasulullah was at the end of the army. Yani he would arrive late. People would arrive early while he would arrive late because he used to be at the end of the army. So what happened? These people who had arrived earlier, what they did, they hastened and they slaughtered some of the animals from this war booty. Maybe some camels or sheep, they slaughtered it. And they they set up these pots in order to cook the meat. So when Rasulullah came later, he commanded the pots to be overturned. He commanded the pots to be overturned. Why? Because they hastened in taking benefit from the war booty even before it was distributed, and this is impermissible. It is impermissible. So for ukfiyat summa qasam. So all of that which was inside the pots was overturned, and then Rasulullah distributed the war booty. فَعَدَلَ عَشْرَةً مِنَ الْغَنَمِ بِبَعِيرٍ. So what he did, he equated uh, 10 sheep to one camel. And this is something which is known because camel is big in size. So how much this what is the value of a camel in comparison to sheep or a goat? Rasulullah equated it to 10 goats or sheep. And also it yani, during that time, yani, it is not a qaida which has to be followed always. It depends on the the health of the sheep and the goats as well as the camel, also how fat they are. So it depends on so many things. During that time, Rasulullah he vetted the situation. He equated one camel is equal to 10 sheep or goat. Then Rasulullah he commanded the pots to be overturned. What does it mean? Overturning the pots, even though they contained meat. Prophet ﷺ did this before the meat was before this war booty was distributed, because they slaughtered these animals and started cooking the meat even before Prophet ﷺ distributed the war booty. So in some narrations, the reason for this is clarified in Sunan Abu Dawud. There is a narration indicating that Rasulullah ﷺ regarded this meat as looted property, nahba, something unlawfully seized. And looted property is haram. So making use of the war booty even before the qaid, the leader distributes it, it is just like a looted property. So Rasulullah considered it as nahba, like plundered goods. And that is why in one version of the hadith with an authentic change of transmission, Rasulullah he said, looted property nahba is no more lawful than carrion. Yani he equated it to dead meat. So when he ordered the pots to be overturned, he did so considering the meat as unlawfully taken, like carrion. Hence, Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam commanded the pots to be overturned with the meat still in them. Why? Because this meat was as good as looted property and it is haram. It is haram for you and one to use and take benefit from the looted property. Fanadda minha ba'irun. Now what happened? One of the camel, it ran away. Haram. One of the camel, it ran away. While Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was distributing the war booty, one of the camel, it ran away. Okay, so Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he divided the spoils and he made a fair comparison, valuing 10 sheep equal to one camel. Then one of the camels broke loose and escaped. So they chased it, but it outpaced them, all of them. Some were on foot, others on horseback, but none could catch it. Even though there were horses in the group, they could not catch that camel. It ran away. Then one man shot an arrow at it, and Allah restrained it, meaning the arrow struck by Allah's permission and power and stopped the camel. Then the Prophet Muhammad he said at that time, these animals sometimes have wild behavior like wild beasts, like camels, cows, sheep. They are domesticated animals. Still, at sometimes they behave like wild animals. Awabid, it means wild or rebellious. Awabid. Although they are from domesticated animals like livestock, some of them act wild and frightened like wild animals and flee from humans. So these animals have wild outbursts like wild animals. He Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said it this way. So he said further, whatever of them you cannot catch, then do with it like you just did. That is, shoot it, shoot at the animal. Then someone said, then someone he said, uh, فقلت يا رسول الله إن لاقوا عدو غدا وليس معنا مدن أفنسبح بالقصب. So someone said, O Messenger of Allah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, we might face the enemy tomorrow and we do not have knives. Can we slaughter using sharpened reeds, uh, made out of wood? So here, look at the optimism and preparedness of the companions of the Allah anhum. They were already asking about slaughtering the expected war spoils, certain and hopeful of divine victory. They have not yet fought with the animals, but they are very certain that we are going to, like win over them, and we will capture a lot of war booty. And in that war booty, there would be animal, but we don't have knives. What to do? So they asked about the situation. If we don't have knives, can we slaughter with something else like sharpened reeds, this wooden woods which are carved out into a sharpened knife kind of a structure? Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he replied, what causes the blood to flow and Allah's name is mentioned upon it, eat it. He gave them a qaida. Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam gave them a qaida. What qaida he gave? That everything ma anhar ad-dam wa zukira rasmullahi alayhi fakuluhu. Everything which by means of which the blood comes out and Allah's name is mentioned upon it, then eat from it. Then eat from it, even if it is made out of this qasab. So if the reed is sharp enough to cause the blood to gush, cutting the main vessels or veins, then it is valid for slaughter as long as Allah's name is mentioned. Then Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam further continued, but not with a tooth or a nail, your hand nail. And then Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he said, I will tell the reason. As for the tooth, it is bone, and you don't slaughter with a bone. As for the nail, it is the knife of the Abyssinians. This is their method. And the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam prohibited resembling them. So if someone were to kill an animal by biting its neck with the teeth or cutting with a bone and blood gushes, it is still not permissible. This shows the emphasis on following proper Islamic slaughtering guidelines, both in tool and method, and also avoiding imitation of non Islamic practices. This is the qaida which Rasulullah gave us. Qala rahimahullah, Babul Adahi, Hadith 391 in An Anas ibn Malik radiyallahu anhu, Qala Daha Nabiyu sallallahu alayhi wasallam bi kabshayni amlahain aqranain zabahahuma bi yadihi wa samma wa kabbara wa wada'a rijlahu ala sifahihima al amlaha al abar wa huwa allazi fihi sawadun bayad. Musannif rahimahullah then he brought in the chapter of al adahi. Al adahi min ahli al ilm man yaj'alaha, yani this chapter concerning adahi, uh, You may find some scholars placing this chapter in the Kitabul Manasik, where they are talking about the issues concerning Hajj and Umrah. And there are some scholars who place it here in the book of Kitabul Atima. And both have a valid reason for putting it there or there. Both have their own valid reasons, and it is permissible to place it there because it is appropriate to be placed either there or here. There is no problem with that. Adahi, it is from amongst the rituals of Islam, great rituals of Islam. It is from those acts of worship which bring a person close to Allah. It is from the acts of obediences which bring a person closer to Allah on the day of Eid and on the day of Tashriq, which are 11th, 12th, and 13th. So the slaughter which is performed on the 10th, 11th, 12th, and 13th of Zilhijj is termed as Adahi, the animal which is slaughtered. So this Udhiya, slaughtering this animal with the intention of seeking nearness to Allah, is done after the Eid prayer on the 10th of Zilhijj until the sun sets on the 13th of Zilhijj. So there are 4 days of slaughtering the animal. Udhiya is from amongst the excellence of this religion. It is a great act of nearness which brings a person close to Allah, which brings a person close to Allah because of the favors and blessings which Allah has bestowed upon His slaves. On the day of Eid, which is 10th of Zilhijj, as well as the Ayyam at-Tashriq, which are 11, 12th, and 13th, the 3 days, these Hujjaj, which are those who are performing Hajj in the plains of Arafah, uh, they slaughter Hadi. The animal which is slaughtered by the Hujjaj, it is known as Hadi. While the Muslimun, those who are not performing Hajj in their countries, they also combine and participate in this act of worship along with those who are performing Hajj in Arafah, in the plains of Arafah. The animals which are slaughtered by the Muslims who are not performing Hajj is known as Udhiya or Ad-Dahaya. So they also participate in this great act of worship in their own lands. Now, ولهذا لما كان هذه المشاركة بين الحجاج وأهل البلدان أمر من أراد أن يدهي, and this is the reason, because there is a participation. They are also trying to participate in this great act of worship along with those who are performing Hajj. Just as those who are performing Hajj, it is impermissible for them to take off anything from their hair and nails. Likewise, since these Muslims who are not performing Hajj are participating with them in this great act of worship, the same rule applies to them as well, that they should not take out anything from their nails and from their hairs, the one who is intending to slaughter an animal. Wal adahi innama takunu min bahimatil anam. As you know, this adahi, this sacrificial animal, has to be from the livestock. Either and there are 8 types of animals. 8. Either it is sheep, male, female; goat, male, female; cow, male, female; and camel, male, female. Total 8 animals, 8 type of animals. Anas ibn Malik Raziallahu anhu says that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he slaughtered 2 rams, amlaini, akranaini. He slaughtered 2 ram. What is the meaning of amlahaini? Amlahaini means these rams have streaks of black and white on their skin. Yani the skin had black and white strikes or stripes on them. Plus they had horns, akranain. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam slaughtered them with his own hands. This indicates that it is sunnah to slaughter the animal with one's own hands. If it is not easy for whatever reason, then it is permissible for appointing someone else to do that. But better and sunnah is that a person should slaughter with his own hands, and it is even permissible. A woman can also slaughter it. There is no dislike in woman slaughtering an animal. Wasamma wa kabbar. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said Bismillah and Allahu Akbar. This is what a person should do when he is slaughtering an animal. As far as tasmiyah is concerned, Bismillah, it is wajib, and takbir, Allahu Akbar, saying Allahu Akbar, is mustahab. Wawada'a rijlahu ala sifahihima. It is known that when either when it is a cow or sheep or a goat, it is to be laid on its side, on its left side, normally on its side, on its left side, and then the person who is slaughtering this animal will put his hand near his neck or face so that it does not get up. But this putting the foot on the neck of the animal should be done with gentleness. With gentleness. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Idha dabahtum fa ahsinu dhibha." When you slaughter, then slaughter beautifully without causing pain and harm to the animal, showing mercy and gentleness to the animal even in such a situation. Also, Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he said, one of the companions, as it has come in Adab al Mufrad, he said, Ya Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, Ashat asbahuha arhamuha, and we are slaughtering the sheep, and still we are showing mercy to him. How is it possible between these two things, slaughtering as well as showing mercy? Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he said, Washat is a rahimtaha rahimakallah. When you show mercy to the sheep, when you are slaughtering, Allah will show mercy to you. So even at the time of slaughtering an animal, do it with gentleness, showing mercy to the animal. Sharpen the blade, the knife. Don't sharpen it in front of the animal to cause harm and fear to the animal. Do it away and separate from the animal. And also, putting the foot on the neck of the animal should be done gently, not with the intention to cause harm to the animal. Hadith 393, Kitabul Ashribah. So earlier we started with Kitabul Atima, related to food. Now it is related to drinks. عن عبد الله بن عمر رضي الله عنهما أن عمر رضي الله عنه قال على منبر رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم أما بعد أيها الناس إنه نزل تحريم الخمر وهي من خمسة إلى آخر الحديث. Musannif rahimahullah brought in kitab, he brought in this kitab which is concerning al-ashriba, things which are drunk. Again, in case of ashriba also, the asal, the foundational principle is that everything is permissible except for those things where there is an explicit prohibition of drinking certain types, like for example wine is, and alcohol, it is impermissible to drink. Other than that, everything is permissible. Juices and water and whatever you can think of, it is permissible, unless it is something which the sharia explicitly prohibits and declares it to be impermissible. For example, Allah has made those things to be haram upon his slaves which have gotten harm. Some kind of harm is caused, like either this harm could be to the intellect of an individual, or this harm could be to the physical bodies, or this harm could also be to the wealth. So the sharia has come and declared those kind of things to be impermissible. Here Abdullah ibn Umar radiallahu anhu says that Umar radiallahu anhu was upon the member of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam during the khilafah of Umar radiallahu anhu himself. He was on the member of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he said, he gave a khutbah. He said, Amma bad, O people, indeed the tahrim of the khamar has revealed, and it is from five things: from grapes, from dates, from honey, from hinta is wheat, and shair is barley. Then he says, wal khamru ma khamar al aql. Now here there is a warning from alcohol. This hadith is talking about the warnings from using and making use of alcohol, or consuming it, from consuming it. And this hadith also talks about the great harm of alcohol. وبيان مضرتها من المطالب المهمة التي, and it all, this hadith also indicates upon explaining the great harms of alcohol, and it is actually a great requirement of the khatib to address people, especially on Jum'ah or other occasions where there is a great gathering present, to remind them of such kind of things which are the requirements and necessities of the time. This is the reason Umar Radiallahu anhu warned from this matter in his khutbah. Also, Uthman radiallahu anhu has warned the people from the consumption of alcohol, and he declared it to be the mother of all evils, Ummul Khabais. So, these Aslaf, they used to take these opportunities wherein the people used to gather in big numbers to warn them of things of this nature. Now, he says, he mentions uh, the things which, the things from which the alcohol used to be made in their time, and he mentioned five things. Omar radiallahu anhu. What are those five things from which the alcohol used to be manufactured? From grapes, from dates, from honey, from wheat, and from barley. Here he is not mentioning them as if restricting it to only these five. No, but this was something which was very common in their time. Alcohol used to be made from these five things commonly in their time. How do we know that he is not restricting it to these five? Because later he says, "Wal khamr is ma khamar al aql." He gave the general rule: everything which covers your intellect is khamr, and it is prohibited for you to drink and use it. Everything which covers khamara means this khimar, which the women they use on their heads, it comes from the word khamara because it covers the head. So everything which covers your intellect, ma khamar al aql, is known as khamar. Is known as khamr. And it is not only the things which are taken in the form of liquid. No, even if it is taken in the form of solid, or even if it is something which is smelled, and it takes away your aql, then it falls under the category of khamr. So khamr is everything which covers your intellect, which takes away your intellect. It could be solid, it could be liquid, it could be in the gaseous form, it doesn't matter, everything is haram. قال ذلك رضي الله عنه في خطبة جامعة بمحضر جم من الصحابة ولم. And Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu said this in a gathering of companions, and none of them objected to it. This indicates that there is an ijma of the companions upon it, that khamr is everything which covers your intellect. Everything which covers your intellect, be it in the form of liquid, in the form of solid, or in the form of gas, which is smelled. So all of it is considered to be part of khamar. Then he says, Salasun viduttu, Salasun vadittu anna Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam kana ahida ilayna fahiya ahadan nantahi ilayhi. Now this is a very important matter, which Umar ibn al-Khattab radiyallahu anhu is talking about. He said, there are three matters I wish the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam had given us a clear ruling on, so we could have definitive position to follow. What are those three things? The issue of the grandfather in inheritance, the issue of al kalala, again related to inheritance, and some matters from the doors of usury riba. Now this statement highlights that no matter how high a scholar's rank in knowledge is, or how much knowledge they acquire, there will always be things they do not fully grasp. Complete mastery and comprehension of all knowledge is beyond anyone's reach, even for people like Umar and Abu Bakr and the senior companions radiallahu anhum wa ardahum. What Umar radiallahu anhu mentioned here was based on his own understanding and what had reached him, not because the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam failed to clarify or explain. Yani this shows that Umar radiallahu anhu was not aware about the issues related to the inheritance of grandfather as well as kalala and the matters related to usury. Though Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has explained everything clearly, Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam indeed conveyed the full message with clarity, fulfilled the trust, and did not leave any good except that he guided the ummah to it, and did not leave any evil except that he warned against it. Salawatullahi wa barakatuh alayhi. So Umar radiallahu anhu said he wished that Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam had given clear, detailed ruling on these three issues, though Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has given, but it did not reach him. Then how about those who are lesser in knowledge in comparison to Umar radiallahu anhu? Is it not possible that many affairs and matters of religion did not reach them? Still we say Al Imam Al Azam. How is it possible our Imam did not know about this and did not know about that? Anyway, those the three things which Umar radiallahu anhu pointed to. The first issue is the issue of grandfather's inheritance. First, as you know, the those who have studied the miras, they know that there is a chapter concerning the inheritance of grandfather, especially when the grandfather exists along with the brothers and sisters, real brothers, sisters, and consanguine brothers and sisters. In that case, there is khilaf, disagreement amongst the scholars. There are those who say that the grandfather will block the brothers and sisters just like the father does, and the brothers and sisters will not inherit anything. The grandfather will take the property. This is one opinion. There is second opinion, wherein the scholars they say the grandfather will inherit along with the brothers and sisters. So there is a difference of opinion. So this is the first thing. The second thing which Umar radiallahu anhu mentioned is the issue of kalala. Kalala is mentioned twice in Surah An-Nisa. Once in ayah number 11, ayah number 12. Ayah number 12 in Surah An-Nisa, and other time it is in the last ayah, ayah number 176 in Surah An-Nisa. Who is a kalala? Kalala is a mayyit, is a person who has died, leaving behind no son, no father. Man laysa lahu walad wala walid. The ayah explicitly, the ayah number 176, Surah An-Nisa explicitly mentions children, but does not mention father. But it is like it is mafhum, it is understood. So this is the reason there is disagreement amongst the scholar that who kalala is. Is it only the one who does not have children, or is it the one who has no children as well as no father? Is this the kalala? So there is a difference of opinion amongst the scholar who the kalala is. This is the second thing. The third thing is abwabun min abwab riba, doors of riba. What are the various ways in which a person can fall into uh, the issue of riba? And possibly referring to specific cases of or transaction that were controversial or had differences of opinion among the scholars. So this is what he expressed his desire that Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam would have made it explicit, though Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam made it explicit, but it did not reach Umar ibn al-Khattab raziyallahu anhu, despite his great standing and the the knowledge that he had. Hadith 394 an Aisha radhiyallahu anha an Rasulillahi sallallahu alayhi wasallam suila anil bit'i faqala kullu sharabin askara fahuwa haramun al bit'u nabizul asl. This hadith is from Ummul Mu'minin Aisha radhiyallahu anha that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was asked about al bit, a kind of drink. So al bit, again, a similar kind of hadith from Jabir ibn Abdullah radhiyallahu anhu is also present in Arbaun. What is al bit? It is a drink which is made from asal, honey. But this honey is it has reached to a level of intoxication. It has reached the level of intoxication, and it is known as bit, which is made from asal. How do you know that bit is made from asal? Look to the ain at the end of it. It will be easy for remembering. It is ending with an ain, which means it is made from asal, because asal starts with the ain. So al bit is a drink which is made from asal and it has intoxicating properties. So Rasulullah was asked about a specific kind of drink, but the answer, how did it came? The answer came in the general form. This is again, the perfection of how perfectly Rasulullah used to explain the problems. He did not just answer concerning a one particular drink, rather he gave them a comprehensive qaida that every drink which intoxicates, it is haram for a person to drink, to make use of. Now, it could be from anything. It could be from grapes, it could be from dates, it could be from wheat, it could be from barley, whatever you can think of. As long as it has the property of intoxication, then it is haram for you to consume. Hadith 395 an Abdullah ibn Abbas radiyallahu anhuma qala balaga Umar أن فلانا باع خمرا فقال قاتل الله فلانا ألم يعلم أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال قاتل الله اليهود حرمت عليهم الشهوم فحملوها فباعوها. This is hadith from Abdullah ibn Abbas radiyallahu anhu. He said that some information reached Umar ibn al-Khattab radiyallahu anhu that someone, he sold khamr. Name is not mentioned who was this person, but someone sold khamr. He sold the khamr, which means he indulged in this matter of khamr by means of tricks and deception. Because Prophet Muhammad he prohibited drinking of khamr. So this person did not himself drink alcohol, but he sold it in order to benefit from the price of it. But the qaida that we have is that the wasail, the means, they take the same rulings of the goals and ultimate aims. They take the same ruling. So the wasail have the same rulings as that of the goals and maqasid. So everything which is impermissible to be used, then it is impermissible to sell and trade and buy. Then he says this person, he sold alcohol. He did not drink it. He only sold it in order to benefit from the price of it. So Umar Raziyallahu anhu, he said, Qatal Allahu Fulan. May Allah destroy such and such person. This is a supplication against this person. Why? Because Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam supplicated against the Jews, because they also make use of deception and trickery in order to make something, in order to benefit from something which Allah had made haram upon them. So he said that, did he not know, yani, this person, that Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he said to the Jews that may Allah kill and destroy the Yahud. Why? Because Allah made the shuhum, this fat, animal fat, of dead animal fat, haram upon them. But what did they do? By means of deception and trickery, what they did? They said, we are not eating animal meat. What we are doing? We are melting it, converting it into oil and selling it to others. So they use deception and trickery in the religion in order to find alternate ways to fall into haram. And this is the reason Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam cursed them and he said, Qatal Allahu Yahud. May Allah destroy the Yahud. Likewise, this person, this is the reason Umar ibn al-Khattab gave the same dua and supplicated with the same dua against them, against this person, because he also used the deception and trickery in the religion. Though he did not drink alcohol, but he sold it with the ultimate aim of benefiting from the prize which will get from the haram thing. This is the reason this application against this person. Kitabul Libas 396 and Umar ibn al-Khattab radiyallahu anhu qala Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam la talbasul harir fa innahu man labisahu fid dunya lam yalbashu fil akhirah. This chapter is concerning the clothing. Again, in the clothing, the default principle is that everything is permissible. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Ilbas mashid, wear whatever you want, except for those clothes which Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam explicitly mentioned that it is impermissible for him to use them. Otherwise, in general, it is permissible for a person to wear whatever he wants. Like, for example, a male cannot wear silk. Likewise, it is impermissible for a person to uh, have these trousers below the ankles. It is impermissible. It is haram. Otherwise, everything else is permissible. So here Umar ibn al-Khattab radiyallahu anhu said that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, La talbasul harir. And this address is to the men, not to the women. Because women, it is permissible for them to wear silk. This prohibition of using silk is only for the men in the dunya. So this khitab and address is for men. La talbasul harir, silk. Now, what is the wisdom? What is the wisdom? Uh, the scholars have explained the reason behind the prohibition of men wearing silk. It is because silk brings softness and effeminacy, and the status and dignity of a man is too high and honorable for that softness. The status of a man is more majestic and firm, and wearing silk is more befitting for a woman's femininity, softness, beauty, and adornment. It suits the nature of woman. So, when a man wears silk, when a man he wears silk, it gives him the softness and effeminacy and femininity that is appropriate only for a woman, not for a man. Hence, the Sharia prohibited men from wearing silk. Prophet ﷺ, he said, "Do not wear silk, for whoever wears it in this world will not wear it in the hereafter." Also, Allah said about the people of paradise, those who are going to be in the paradise, "Walibasuhum fiha harir," that in Jannah their clothing will be that of silk. Their garments therein will be of silk. So the clothing of paradise is silk. And the one who wears it in this world, while being prohibited from doing so, is hastening for himself that which will cause him to be deprived of it in the hereafter. This is the reason for some of among the wisdom. This is what the scholars they mention, that this is the reason they should not wear silk. 397 and Huzaifa ibn al-Yaman radiyallahu anhuma qala samitu Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam yaqul la talbasul hadira wala dibaja ولا تشربوا في آنية الذهب والفضة ولا تأكلوا في سهافهما فإنها لهم في الدنيا ولكم في الآخرة. This hadith from Huzaifa ibn al-Yaman radiyallahu anhuma, that he heard Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam saying, "La talbasul hadila walad dibaj." Do not wear harir and dibaj. Harir is silk, we saw earlier. Dibaj is the finest quality of silk. It is the most luxury kind of silk. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam prohibited from every kind of silk. And the reason we saw little while ago. Then he says, "Wala tashrabu fi aniyati zahabi wal fiddati wala taakulu fi sihafihima." Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam prohibited from drinking in the vessels of gold and silver and eating in them, which are made from gold and silver. Some plates and trays which are made out of gold and silver, it is prohibited. Why? لأن هذا كما ذكر العلماء هذا من الصرف والبذخ والفخر وأيضا يورث الخيلاء. Why is it so? What is the wisdom? Gold and silver utensils, the scholars have stated that using such items is considered extravagance, wastefulness, arrogance, and boasting. It also leads to pride and haughtiness. Therefore, the Sharia prohibited their use. Moreover, it breaks the hearts of the poor and the needy, seeing others use such luxurious items while they cannot afford even the basics. So the outcome is that Sharia clearly forbade the use of gold and silver utensils. Prophet ﷺ, he said, "Indeed, the disbelievers have them in this world, and you, the believers, will have them in the hereafter. Walakum fil akhirah." Meaning, they enjoy these luxuries now, the disbelievers, while in the hereafter, they will be, and these luxuries will be exclusively for the believers in the paradise. So the people of paradise will be honored by Allah with gold and silver utensils, plates, bowls, cups, as a reward for refraining from them in this world out of obedience to Allah. Thus Allah will honor them in the hereafter. As a part of many ways He rewards His close and righteous servants. Then He says 398 Anil Bara ibn Azib radiyallahu anhu qala ma ra'aytu min zi limmatin fi hullatin hamra'a ahsana min Rasulillahi sallallahu alaihi wasallam lahu sha'arun yadribu mankibaihi ba'idu ma bainal mankibain laysa bil qasiri wala bit tawil. Then Musannif rahimahullah brought in this hadith of Bara ibn Azib radiyallahu anhu. He said that ma ra'aytu min zi limmatin fi hullatin hamra. Zi limmatin, the one who has long hairs. I did not see the one who had long hairs. The one who had long hairs. He's talking about Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Those hairs used to reach the shoulders. Walihaza summiya limma is a alamma bil yani something when it reaches and lowers and hangs down to the shoulders. This is the reason it came to be known as limma, from alamma yalummu or alamma yulimmu. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam had long hairs that would reach the shoulders. So this is describing the hairs of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. In some occasions, not always, but because this was the trend and culture of that society, wherein normally the youth, they used to keep such kind of hairs. So he also used to keep the hairs. It is not kind of a sunnah, a person doing it now with the intention of earning rewards, because Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam did it because he did it customarily, not as a means of achieving closeness to Allah. Fi hullatin hamra. This is the reason why Musannif rahimahullah brought in this hadith in this chapter. This is a clothing, two-piece cloth, which was red in color. That Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam wore this kind of cloth, which was in two pieces, and it was in red in color. Now, this red in color was not completely red, because Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam prohibited someone wearing complete red clothes, complete red, absolute red. He prohibited it. However, here what is meant by this narration is that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was wearing this two-piece cloth, a gown or a two-piece cloth, which was red in color, but this was not pure red. Rather, it had linings, either white or black in color. Either linings which are black or were red in colors or white in colors. Then he says, "Walahu lahu sharun yadribu mankibai." Here he is mentioning the same limma. He is further explaining here, Anas ibn Malik radiyallahu anhu, that he had hairs reaching the shoulders, and his hairs were not too short nor too long. But anyway, the purpose for which this hadith was brought in here, to show the kind of cloth which Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was wearing, these red clothes, but this red was mixed with either black or white. It was not pure red. In the light of other hadiths which Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned. Hadith 399 Anil Bara ibn Azib radiyallahu anhu qala amarna Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam bi sab'in wa nahana an sab'in. Okay, so in this hadith of Bara ibn Azib radiyallahu anhu, this is a hadith which is comprehensive in terms of commandments and prohibitions. Herein he is mentioning 7 things which Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam commanded to do, and 7 things which he prohibited us from doing. And this is again, whenever you see such kind of narrations wherein a number is mentioned, it is mentioned for the sake of ease of memorization. Like, there are 4 things which are found in such and such person, 3 things which are found in such and such person. When such things are mentioned at the beginning of the hadith, it becomes easy for memorization and remembering them. So this is one such example of it. So 7 things which Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam commanded. What are they? The first one is bi iyadatil marid, visiting the sick, because there is great benefit in visiting the sick. Number 1, there is generosity, kindness towards the sick, also supplication for him of cure. Also, this person who is visiting the sick, he will command this sick person and those around him, his relatives, to observe patience, encourage them upon making a lot of supplication, because dua of a marid is not rejected. So all of these things are very beneficial, and there is great benefit in iyada of the marid, visiting the sick. Second thing which Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam commanded is wattiba'il janaza, following the janaza. And it is a communal obligation to attend the funeral prayer and to follow the funeral until it is buried. It is a communal obligation. This is the reason there is great reward in attending the funeral prayer as well as attending the burial. As we saw earlier, that the one who prays funeral prayer upon a Muslim brother, he will have a qirat And the one who follows it until it is buried, he will have two qirat, and a qirat is a size of a big mountain. So there is great reward. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam commanded this, and it is from amongst the right of a Muslim brother upon another Muslim. The third one is what tashmitul atis. Tashmit is the dua when a person who sneezes. When this sneezing person, the one who sneezed, if he says Alhamdulillah, then the person hearing Alhamdulillah from the sneezing person, he must reply him with the dua Yarhamukallah. Saying Yarhamukallah is known as Tashmeet. It is known as Tashmeet. And there is again great benefit in this sneeze. You and we may not realize it, but it brings out some particles and bacteria which are inside us. It brings it out through the nose by means of sneeze. It is a great blessing upon a person. This is the reason a person must show gratitude to Allah when he sneezes by saying Alhamdulillah. And when he says this Alhamdulillah, he must perceive the fact that Allah has helped him get rid of these particles which otherwise would have remained inside him had it not been for the sneeze. So the person must thank Allah and show gratitude to Allah by saying Alhamdulillah. Likewise, the one who hears it, this person saying Alhamdulillah, it is legislated for this person to respond by saying Yarhamukallah. May Allah's mercy be upon you. Because this person perceived the great blessings of Allah upon him by saying Bismillah, by saying Alhamdulillah. So this person sends mercy of Allah upon this person. This is the reason the one who hears the sneezing person saying Alhamdulillah, he must reply Yarhamukallah. And again, the response to the dua is dua. The person who sneezed will again reply back with another dua, Yahdikumullahu wa yuslihu balakum. Such a small act. The act is so small, but it results in so many blessings. It results in duas being exchanged between these two people, and this is the greatness of Islam. Then he says, Wa ibrari al qasami awil muqsim. The third or the fourth thing which Rasulullah commanded, uh, which Rasulullah commanded is fulfilling the oath of your brother. Meaning, if your brother swears by something upon you and there is no hardship or harm in fulfilling it, then honoring his oath is part of the rights you owe to your Muslim brother. Then the fourth thing is that supporting the oppressed, or maybe the fifth thing, supporting Nasril Madlum, supporting the oppressed person. Now, what this supporting the oppressed person is, like by guidance, by giving direction, by intercession, or by any effort one can make to assist the oppressed in getting justice. This is something which one can do. Then he says, wa ijabati ad-da'i, yani responding to the invitation of someone who called you, especially the walima of a marriage walima. The most emphasis has come upon walima. That if some brother of yours comes and invites you to the walima, then it is obligatory. There are some scholars they say it is obligatory. It is obligatory to attend the walima. As long as there are no evil acts being done in this walima, then it is obligatory upon you to accept it and go. Even if you are fasting, go there and attend the walima. Unless some kind of haram is being committed there, then you can excuse yourself. And if you can, if you are from amongst those people who can change it with his hands, then in fact it is recommended for you and highly recommended for you to go and change it with your hands. If you are from amongst those who can do that, but otherwise, if you cannot do that, then better to avoid. Better to avoid. And here, yani, what the Sheikh is saying that in our times, what has happened is that unnecessarily we delay these walima, uh, these dinners, especially until the midnight or even later than that, with no benefit. This not only spoils the day of this person, it spoils the night as well as they may miss the fajr altogether, because the body it also requires some kind of rest. There is no need to unnecessarily delay the night supper to such a time. Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he prohibited from remaining awake late in the night. He disliked this act. He used to sleep early immediately after praying Isha. Add to it the issue that we are also not respecting the elders, those who are attending such kind of occasions. We are not paying attention to them. We are making them remain awake for a period of time which is very hard upon them to do that. So we are not showing the kind of etiquettes and the kind of ihtaram towards these kibaru sin, those elder people who attend such kind of occasions. and we delay it and unnecessarily make everyone remain awake late at night, and then they miss the Fajr prayer altogether. And all of these things are absolutely, they go against the Sunnah of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Then he says another thing, or maybe the last thing, the seventh one is ifsha salam. Ifsha salam, yani spread the salam. It is from one of the greatest reasons and causes of mutual love amongst the Muslims. As Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he said, shall I not guide you to something? If you do it, it will lead to mutual love. He said, Afshu salam bainakum, spread salam amongst each other. It is amongst those reasons which bring in love, mutual love amongst the Muslim Ummah. Then seven things which Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam prohibited us from is number one, khawatim aw takhattum az-zahab, rings which are made out of gold for men. Again, this is addresses to the men. It is haram for the men to wear gold rings or bangles or anything, chains, anything made out of gold is haram for men to wear in any form. But the woman, it is permissible for them to use as much of jewelry made out of gold to use. Likewise, one second thing, one, and it should be bil fiddati, to drink in the vessels of silver, as we saw earlier. Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam prohibited us from drinking in the vessels of gold and silver. Wa anil mayasir. What is mayasir? Al mayasir li wasaratiha waliniha wal mayasir tuj al, yani these are soft pillows. Soft pillows. Mayasir, which are soft padded cushions used for reclining or sitting. The Prophet ﷺ prohibited them due to their plushness and softness. He also prohibited some special kind of silk, as we saw earlier. Anil qasi. It is kind of a cloth. It is kind of a cloth which was brought from Misr or Sham, which was made out of this special kind of material, a silk blend, kind of a qasi, a silk blend, which were imported from Egypt or the Sham. Also wearing silk, as we saw earlier, harir. Istabrak is a thicker kind of silk, heavy silk, and dibaj, as we saw earlier, it is the finest and the most luxurious form of silk. All of these were prohibited for men because, as previously mentioned, they produce softness, effeminacy, and delicateness, qualities that are not suitable for men. And these characteristics are contrary to dignity and firmness which is expected of a man. This is the reason these things, some of the hikam, as the scholars they mention. Hadith for number 400, and Ibn Umar radiyallahu anhuma anna Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam istana'a khataman min zahabin fakana yaj'alu fassahu fi batini kaffihi iza labisahu fasana an-nasu kazalik. Okay, this hadith narrated by Ibn Umar radiyallahu anhuma is mentioning concerning wearing the gold ring. In the earlier days, it was permissible for the men to wear gold ring. Later on, it was abrogated. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam made a ring out of gold for him to wear. So there was a ring which was made out of gold for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He used to wear it. But how he used to wear it? He used to keep the gem, or the stone which was there. He used to keep it inside towards the palm. Yani, I hope you understand. The stone, he used to keep it inside, not to the exterior, but towards the palm side. Fi batini kaffihi iza labisa. Whenever he used to wear it, the stone used to be towards the side of the palm. And it was permissible in the earlier days, and later on it was abrogated. So people did the same. The companions also did the same. They made gold ring to wear. Then summa ainahu jalasa. Then one day Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, and he removed this gold ring, and he said, inni kuntu albasu hazal khatim. I used to wear this ring, and I used to keep the stone inside to the towards the palm. Farama bihi. Then Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he threw away that ring, and he said, by Allah, I will not wear it ever again. So fanabaza nasu khawatimahuma. So the people, the companions, also immediately removed the rings and threw it away. The companions, they threw it away. What does this show? This teaches us the quick and sincere response of the companions, radiyallahu anhum wa ardahum. Their immediate obedience and compliance to the words and actions of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Unlike many people today, who are obsessed with objecting and criticizing to the extent that even if you narrate one, two, or three ahadiths to them that contradict their habits, they still argue. Some even say, what's wrong with that? objecting to the sayings of the noble Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This kind of attitude shows a weakness in faith and reverence for the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Whereas the companions, radiallahu anhum wardahum, the moment they heard a command or a prohibition from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they would immediately comply to it. So reflect on what the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam did. When he said, "By Allah, I will never wear it again," the companions immediately threw away their gold rings. How quickly they acted upon this prohibition from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. In one narration, it has come that Ja'alahu fi yadihi al yumna, that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to wear it in the finger of left hand, in the finger of left hand. And there are also narrations which shows that he used to in the right hand, fi yadihi al yumna, in the right hand. And there are narrations which shows that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to wear in the left hand. Some of the hadiths that he used to wear in the left. Some says he used to wear in the right. So the ulama rahimahumullah, they say that the matter is, there is scope in it. There is scope in it. Don't be very firm of wearing it only in the left or in the right. But the matter is open to discussion, because Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, there are narrations which says he used to wear it in the left. There are narrations which say he used to wear it in the right. So there is scope in the matter. Waqad zakar al ulama rahimahumullah, and the scholars they have mentioned amongst them is Sheikh Ibn Baz rahimahullah, also Sheikh Usaymin, also Sheikh Abdul Mohsin Al Badr hafidahullah, that the watch which people normally wear is also like this ring only. This khatam ring Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to wear in the right, and some narration says he used to wear in the left. Likewise, the watch also which people they wear, it is permissible. Don't be too strict in this matter. I have seen people, those who wear the watch in the left hand, some people they object to it. Why are you wearing in the left hand? Why don't you wear it in the right hand? No, the matter is wase. There is scope in the matter. You can wear it in the left, you can wear it in the right. It all depends on what is comfortable to you. If it is comfortable for you to wear in the left, wear in the left. If it is comfortable for you to wear in the right, wear in the right, and there is no problem in it. Hadith 406, an Umar ibn al-Khattab radiyallahu anhu, anna Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam naha an lubusil hariri illa hakaza. Wa rafa'a lana Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam usbu'aihi as-sababada wal wusta. Okay, so this is hadith from Umar ibn al-Khattab radiyallahu anhu, that Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam prohibited from wearing silk except like this. And then he showed example how much silk is permissible for a person to be worn. So Umar ibn al-Khattab radiyallahu anhu is mentioning that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam prohibited wearing silk except only this much. How much? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he combined two of his fingers. The first finger, which is the sababa, which is the finger which we use in the prayer to move it, which you move in the tashahud. This finger, as well as the middle finger. Yani only as much. Only this much of silk you can use, which is like maybe 2 inches, only 2 inches, and that too if it is needed maybe for mending your cloth which has got torn away, but only this much, not more than that. And other narration says equal to the size of 2 fingers or 3 fingers or 4 fingers. In any case, this indicate that only a very small amount of silk is permissible for a person to be used, that too in case of a need and necessity. However, in our times, and our times, this is very rare, rarest of the rare. Even if a person gets a small scratch on the cloth, he simply rejects that cloth and will not wear it ever in his life again. He would replace it with a new cloth. While this was not the case back then, if they used to get some kind of wear and tear in the clothes, or if it gets torn away, they would mend it with the help of these silk threads. And this is the reason Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam allowed them to use only as much as the size of either 2 fingers, 3 fingers, or 4 fingers. In any case, this indicates that only a small amount of silk is to be used, that too in case of necessity. So two fingers, 3 fingers, or 4 fingers, not more than that. Subhanakallahumma bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. Assalamu alaikum.